Welcome to MCN and the launch of Yamaha's XSR900 GP. Now, ever since Yamaha took the covers of this at EICMA, we have been so excited to ride it. It's got so much attention. Some people love it, some people hate it, but there's no denying that it stirs up a certain sense of nostalgia. Like, it just looks beautiful, no matter if you're an older rider or a younger rider. Like, even for myself, as someone who's under 30, watching like the old videos of people like Rainey, like all the heroes, like the Rainey, the Schwantz, like Mackenzie, who we've been riding with today, on those absolute monster 500cc two-strokes, it just sort of instills something that's almost difficult to put into words. Today, I would say we've been riding on track, but that's a bit of a lie. We've done sections of Estoril racetrack and we've been riding on the road. We did about 180 kilometres in total, so we've had a good ride. Interestingly, there's a bit of a backstory behind this bike. It was actually almost canned quite a few times. It was developed during COVID times. There was a lot of to and fro-in apparently between Yamaha Europe, Yamaha Japan, and interestingly, they literally almost put it in the bin a couple of times. I'm so glad they didn't. This is the first bike that Yamaha have built that hasn't actually been developed using clay models. All of it has been done by a computer animated design, like such a high-tech system developing such a cool retro looking machine. And in person, it looks absolutely stunning. I think you have to give a big nod to the finish. The bike's just over 12.5 grand, but up close, it is absolutely stunning. They've been so heavy on the details of this machine. For example, it's got drill forecaps. The R-clips are remanufactured from a TZR 250R. It's just absolutely incredible, and it really is a lovely thing up close. It's just so nice to see something that's not covered in plastic. And honestly, the more you look at it, the better it gets. What we all want to know is how it's going to ride. So we're going to break it down. We're going to start with the riding position. Although them bars look quite high, quite raised, it is actually more aggressive than it looks. So compared to the XSR900 that's based on the real retro naked, the bars are forward and they're lower, the pegs are higher, but the seat has also been lifted too. So it's still a really spacious riding position, but it is more aggressive and you are sitting more on your wrists. After a full day of riding, I have to say it's far more uncomfortable than I was expecting it to be. In the presentation yesterday, when I was chatting to the engineers, chatting to the lead designers, this is actually closer to an R7 in terms of the rider triangle than it is to an XSR900. And when I look back at my notes from when I rode the R7, that's really close to the R6. So that shows you what kind of riding triangle you've got. You're pretty much on your wrists, quite far over the front, and you really do feel it after a day in the saddle. Now, I'm only 5'7", I've got 28-inch inside leg, and I found that I was really extended to get to the bars. And in that, I sort of relying on my wrists, and it really did feel a bit painful. But I have it under good authority. I had a good chat with Lamb Chop Rides, who's well over 6 foot, and he actually found it more comfortable. It's actually quite a big bike, even the indents in the tank. It's built for someone of a larger stature. So if you're a bit taller, it's actually a bit more comfortable if you're a bit smaller. And I have to say as well, we don't like to admit it, but if you've got a bit of ballast here, it will actually help you out. I'd quite like to have a bit of a tank extension here for when you're braking and stuff, just to hold your weight, because otherwise it goes straight on your wrists. So for taller riders, for bigger riders, this is a more comfortable bike than it is for a smaller rider. But in doing so, it does feel really focused. You do feel in tune with the machine. It feels more sporty than I gave it credit for when I first saw the initial shots of it. And in that sense, it sort of translates to the handling as well. It handles brilliantly. So although this is heavily based on the XSR900, the suspension is actually uprated, so you've got a wider range of adjustment. The front forks have a stiffer spring rate, and because the weight bias is further forward, they've actually gone softer in the rear because they can get away with it. There's been a few tweaks here and there, a few tweaks to the subframe, a few tweaks to the engine mounting, a few other little bits. But all of these little changes actually make a bike that feels really focused and really in tune. For faster road riding, it's really, really responsive. The suspension setup as standard is really nice. If you're riding on track, then obviously we didn't actually get a proper track session in, or if you're riding really hard on the road, it wasn't too ballistic what we were doing today. I think the only limitations you'd have would be on ground clearance, although it wasn't a problem at all, and we were riding pretty hard. That's sort of a bit of by the by. This is made to be a road bike, and as a road bike, it handles brilliantly, and that's complemented by a set of Bridgestone S23s. Although we didn't get to ride at SR earlier, we was going straight from standstill into corners, and you have so much confidence straight away. It is a really nice setup, and the brakes are really good as well. They're really powerful, you give you loads of feel, and sometimes on the Yamahas, it's got a bit of a vague feeling through that front brake. They're actually quite nice and quite powerful. The real star of the show here for me is the motor. So I did the MT09 launch a couple of months ago, and that CP3 inline triple is just simply stunning. It is not only usable for just rolling around town, it's gentle if you put it in the softer mode, but it's got such a throaty, meaty mid-range that you can pretty much ride it any pace, and it's exciting. So unlike a screaming 600, unlike an R6, a CBR 600 RR, where you've basically got to have it pinging off the red line, this thing from 3,000 or 4,000 RPM, you can just have fun with it, and that's what makes it so good. So if you're riding like nice sweeping corners, you can leave a couple of gears too high and it just pulls. It doesn't have that really feisty top end, but it doesn't need it because it has so much. And another thing as well is the sound is just beautiful. Although the exhaust isn't the most beautiful thing on this bike, in fact, it's the thing that I would sack off straight away, it is an absolutely gorgeous sounding machine. You get so much induction noise as well. But you've got to remember that this is a £12,500 bike. Another thing I have to mention is the electronics package on this is incredible. So it's got a 6-axis IMU, it's got all the rider aids under the sun, it's got a load of rider modes, including the custom modes you can change. But what really makes it nice is how soft in intervention they are. So it's got lift control, traction control, it's got a back slip regulator for when you're going down the gearbox, it's got an up and down quick shifter, which is amazingly smooth. You can go down the box on the throttle and you can really just use it at any RPM. It is a beautiful system to use. And you also have cruise control as well. It's really easy to use via the buttons, and you can mess about with it, you can connect your phone to it, and it also has navigation as well that we used earlier, which is provided by Garmin. You don't have to pay a subscription fee or anything for it, and it's quite easy to read, it's quite easy to use, and it's quite easy to change as well. So you do get a lot of bike for your money. So we had a lot of questions about this bike, and I was really intrigued to ride it because I'm actually getting one as a long-termer, and we've answered some of them today. So firstly, the lights, which are completely minimal at the front. We haven't had the chance to try them in dark conditions, but I've been trying to keep an eye out on going through tunnels and stuff like that. And to be honest, they don't look the brightest. So it's going to be interesting to see what it's like riding this in the dark. When we get this back in the UK, I'll give it a full test and see what it's like. Another one that I have to add is the mirrors aren't great. I don't like these Barrier mirrors anyway. I tend to do quite a bit of town work. I do a bit of commuting through the M25 and stuff. And if you're not doing just pure B roads, they're a bit of a pain in the neck where they're placed because they're right in the way of wing mirrors and other bits from cars when you filter in. And they do vibrate quite a bit as well. Although you don't feel vibrations through the handlebars, you can see it through the mirrors. And they're a bit awkward to look through. You sort of have to make an effort. But I'm glad they're there just for the appearance. Before today, I hadn't actually seen the pillion seat in real life, but it does exist and it is there. So overall, if you're looking to buy this bike, you've got to take a few things into account. It is an incredible motor. It is an incredible chassis. It is a focused riding position. It's more aggressive than I was expecting to be, if I'm honest. And although it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, it's not a sports tourer, it's not as aggressive as a super sport bike. But in doing that, Yamaha have made this bike feel like a real sports bike. I know it says sports heritage. This is the first bike that I've ridden that actually feels like a sports heritage machine. It looks cool, it looks retro, it encompasses so many years of Yamaha success, but it also packs a punch that you can enjoy and you can use and you can abuse. So if you're happy with dealing with a little bit of discomfort, it's incredible. If you're a bigger rider, it'd be better suited to you. And if you're looking to buy one, I'd urge you to take one for a test ride because it is seriously, seriously spicy. In terms of its rivals, there isn't really anything. You've got the Speed Triple RR and the Super Veloce, but they are miles out of the way. The Speed Triple RR in terms of price and performance, the Super Veloce just in terms of the price. And to be honest, I think this is a better package than both of them. Make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned, because when I get one as long-termer, I'm going to do some track days on it. I'm going to do some long journeys on it. I'm going to do some pillion stuff on it. I'm going to see if it is a sports bike that you can live with every day of the week. If you want a sports bike that looks really cool, that looks really funky, that performs incredibly and is a little bit comfier than something really hardcore, Yamaha have absolutely nailed it.